It's great to see everybody come out tonight, and it's great to see some friendly, familiar faces. Bob Owsley is the chair of the Perry County Republican Party, and he's with us tonight. Lawrence Sutton, the chair of the Lawrence County Republican Party, past party chair, Brandon Taylor, and look out, we got an election commission chair from Lawrence County, Chris Stutz, in the room. So it's great to see great people, and appreciate y'all coming out tonight. I know that Virginia and Houston, and of course Rick Williams, were all at the state meeting Saturday. Was there anybody else that was there in the room? So we all got to see things happen right before our very eyes. And I've said this for a long time. We may have a supermajority of Republicans in both the House and Senate in Nashville representing us. But theoretically, that's theoretically. Reality, we don't. Now, I don't know how many in this room will agree with me, but it's the same way with our state executive committee. And Rick, you got to see it fold right before your very eyes. So did you, Houston. But I did testify last week. I had the privilege, and it was an honor to testify in the trenches, as Houston put it, on House Bill 855. And here's what I testified to. I said, dear members of, the chairman, I thanked him for letting me speak, and the members of the State and Local Government Committee. I'm here in person to express my concern regarding this proposed amendment to House Bill 855. Now, just like Houston said, we watched it sitting down, breaking bread together about a little bit before 5 o'clock that this was passed. And it's a sad, sad day, which is clearly unconstitutional. That's the key word. In particular, I want to highlight the serious constitutional issues raised by this amendment in light of the Supreme Court's ruling in Tashian versus Republican Party of Connecticut in 1986. In Tashian and the Republican Party of Connecticut, the Supreme Court held that political parties have the First Amendment right, number one, to determine their own membership requirements. Number two, to choose their candidates through methods that reflect their beliefs and practices. And three, we're free from undue government interference. The court emphasized that political parties as associations, kind of like the Methodist Church, the Catholic Church, the Church of Christ, the Kiwanis Club, the Rotary Club. Now, I'm adding to this. This is not what I said to them. But just to put it in perspective, to paint that picture. And they are constitutionally protected in their right to regulate their internal procedures without excessive governmental control. Specifically, the court found that Connecticut's law, which required parties to allow unaffiliated voters to participate in their primaries, violated the First Amendment rights of the Republican Party. So open primaries violate our First Amendment rights. House Bill 855, as amended, would infringe upon those same First Amendment rights by imposing unnecessary and unconstitutional restrictions on the ability of the political parties to regulate their own internal process, including the selection of candidates. Such governmental intrusion into a party function contradicts the principles upheld by the Supreme Court in Tashian, where the court made clear that the states cannot compel a political party to open its primary process to individuals who do not share the party's political views or affiliations. This amendment, in its attempt to regulate the structure of the Republican Party primaries and the selection of candidates, poses a clear violation of constitutional rights afforded to political parties under both the First and 14th Amendments. By infringing on these rights, the amendment undermines the very foundation of free and open political party system in which the parties have the autonomy to select their own candidates and govern their own internal affairs. Given these unconstitutional concerns, I respectfully urge this committee to reconsider and reject this amendment to House Bill 855. It is essential that we uphold the rights of the political party to determine their own membership and candidate selection process without unconstitutional interference from the state. In doing so, we preserve the integrity of our democratic system and the fundamental principles of political freedom. Thank you in your time for this consideration for this important issue. I trust you will make the right decision in safeguarding our constitutional rights. I hate to stand here before you just within an hour or so, hour and a half of the passing of an unconstitutional amendment. 60 of our House legislators supported this. Majority was Republicans of that 60. Because I got to looking, and Lawrence, I sent you and Brandon the picture, and I also sent it to the Lewis County Party. I think there were 2 Democrats that voted with the few Republicans that voted no. So we had 2 Democrats to cross the aisle and vote no on something that was unconstitutional and vote the right way. The remaining Democrats, and there's 24 of them in the House, I think 2 were not there, but the remainder chose not to vote. That speaks volumes. And when you choose not to vote, in my humble opinion, that's the same as a no vote. Mm-hmm. So what happened is our legislators are trying to legislate a private organization. And I want every one of them birds, and I know you're filming, I want every one of them to hear, especially Senator Jack Johnson, who led this in Senate Bill 799, and Lee Reeves, who is a House representative who led the charge in House Bill 855. This all stemmed, and the truth is not being told by these 2 gentlemen. Okay? This all stemmed from a party reorganization in Williamson County where these 2 gentlemen got their butts handed to them because their slate of officers didn't win. Pure and simple. And this is what this is all about. And then they want to step on my freedoms and my constitutional rights. I will not stand for it. Period. There's time for change in our legislature, and especially in our leadership. We're being led down the wrong path. We're being led by trans Republicans. They don't know whether they're gay or straight, male or female, or Democrat or Republican. And it's time for us grassroots conservatives or grassroots constitutional Republicans. They've tried to hijack our conservative that Brandon Lawrence that we talked about on the radio so much. They're hijacking. And I think everybody needs to go out and buy you a copy of Rules for Radicals. You need to get a copy because that's what we're being led by. And I hope everybody humbly agrees with me. And it's time we take a stand. Now, the thing about it, we talked about this a little bit, Houston, Saturday, and our state executive party, minus 1 vote. We had 1 vote that did not, wait a minute, we had 2 votes that didn't support this resolution that we sent to the legislature. We had 2 of the SEC members and I think we had, 60 present. 2 voted no. The rest of us voted yes. And there was a resolution that was sent to the House and Senate, and they just simply, for lack of a better word, give us a middle finger. But I will tell you, your state representative, Jody Barrett, voted no. I will tell you, Lawrence County, and he serves Wayne County and part of Murray and a little bit of Hardin, Kip Capley voted no. Giles County's representative, who represents Giles and half of Lawrence and half of Lincoln, Clay Doggett, voted no. Todd Warner, who represents Marshall and a little bit of Williamson County, voted no. And of course, Senator Joey Hensley was one of the 3 senators that voted no in the Senate.
As well as
and and then also, I'm staying, don't get me wrong, Lawrence, I'm just staying in our senatorial district, and we've got great leaders, and Scott Serpicki, who represents the rest of Murray County, voted no. So the 28th senatorial district was a unanimous no. And I've said this time and time again in front of everybody, we have the strongest senatorial district in the state right here. And that's something to be proud of. And, you know, it just amazes me when you point things out to these legislators and they think we're the servants and they're the boss. Well, I want to tell every one of those legislators, we are the boss and you are the servant. I want you to understand. And we're just letting you rent a little space in our house until the next election. And every one of these, they want a primary, let's give them a primary. Let's get out there and find somebody to primary Jack Johnson, Senator Jack Johnson, who is the Senate Majority Leader, and House Representative Lee Reeves. Let's get out there and find people in that great county to primary them. And let's beat them at the polls. Let's beat them at their own game. All you got to do is give me your rules and I can play with you. Okay? But it is very, very upsetting. But everybody that got to come, I think y'all got an educational experience Saturday, didn't you? And what happened even more so, that made that bunch matter, is the state executive committee unanimously, except by 1 vote, upheld Williamson County's reorg and let it stand as those folks were elected in Williamson County. And I'm going to tell you, that was a mass undertaking because there was 1,700 people plus. Imagine Lewis County's reorg. How many do we have here? 40 something? Imagine 1,700 plus showing up. Bob, y'all had what, 10 in Perry County?
I think it was 9 actually.
9? So you're getting into a place where you have 1,700, but we did let 1,550 something people participate. They were qualified participants. So that was a mass undertaking, and this is where this all birthed from. They're looking for ways to stop the fear of caucuses or conventions, because the people of the party, if you do a convention, you select your candidate. What do you guys do in Perry?
Well, we've got a combination, and mostly it's been based on money, with the county. If it's a national election, then we go for a primary. And if it's not a national election, then the money for a primary comes out of the county. Being a disadvantaged county, it's a really big deal for the county to pay for a primary.
Bob, I really appreciate that comment. That's what people are missing. You get to, when you have a presidential election like with Donald Trump in 2024 in March, you can hook onto that primary and it not cost these counties. okay, because that's a national primary. But Chris, you being the election commission chairman in Lawrence, if you guys decide to do a primary in 2026, well, by George, it's going to cost Lawrence County taxpayers. Where if the party holds a convention, guess what the cost is to the taxpayer? $0. $0. And in some of these distressed counties, and I hate to use that word, we're worried about keeping up with goods and services in our county. What you pay property tax for. We're worried about being able to do maintenance on courthouses. I know y'all went through a renovation here, a minor one, but still it costs money. So in Giles County, it cost a little over $32,000 plus to do a primary. And I got figures from one of the representatives wanted that to do his speech from the floor. So will the state party sue? You bet, because this is unconstitutional. It's done been upheld. 2 cases I know, one in California by the Democrat Party, and the Supreme Court upheld it, and the one in Connecticut. And they both have been upheld as constitutional. It is our right. So what my concern is, and I'll add a little taste to it, a little flavor, I'll put a little sugar in their Kool-Aid, is they don't stop there. Are they going to come in our churches and start telling us how to run our churches? That's the very reason my forefathers left England. One of the main reasons was separation of church and state. So it's a sad day when you got people that take an oath of office and break their oath of office. That's what it comes down to. Listen, I appreciate every one of you. If you got any questions, we can talk all day long about what went on Saturday, but I'm going to turn it back over to Houston. Thank y'all for coming out tonight.